Hi, this is Ben, and I'm going to show you how I curate my blogging using WordPress's built-in category and tag features. This will work on either WordPress.com or if you have a self-installation from WordPress.org on your own website, it works just the same way. I'm going to be using my school blog, the Madawan Learning Connection, to show you how I use categories and tags to help not just curate the blog post for myself, but allow others a way to dig down through what I have written so that they can access it in a way that's meaningful to them. So first things first, here's my blog, and I've got several posts, most recent one being from December 9th with a nice video here. And if I want to, I can send people to this blog and they can go ahead and scroll down through all the posts, and that's wonderful. The problem is, in order to find things easily, they either need to know the links or they have to click in the search box. You'll notice I have a couple right here, or go to the archives. I would really love for people to find what they need or what's pertinent to them. So what I've done is I have started using categories. And you can see right here, I've got a few categories when you click this drop down menu that are pertinent to the education world, from assessment to the subject areas, math, science, so forth, down to student examples and teacher intros. So if somebody wants to find just teacher intros, they can click on that category, and that's exactly what they get. All the other blog posts are filtered out, and they get to see just the teacher intros that I've done. So how would I do this? Simple. Once I'm logged into my WordPress site, I want to go to the dashboard. Once I'm in the dashboard, then I'm able to set up categories using the post menu. You can see right down here underneath posts, I've got the ability to look at my categories and tags. So once I've clicked on categories, you can see all the categories that I've created right here. Some of them I've used a lot, some of them not so much. For example, art. I have no posts so far in that category. Education has 7. Now, when you think about setting up categories, you want to think about it as though you're trying to organize a file folder cabinet. You wouldn't just take all of your papers and dump them into a file cabinet drawer without any type of categorization or putting them into separate folders. The same thing holds true on a WordPress site. If you just keep writing post after post after post, you don't have the ability to quickly go back and curate your posts in a way that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and create a category here. We're going to call it extracurricular. All right, and I don't have to worry about slug. It'll create one for me automatically. And description, I'm going to go ahead and put in this category is for events and learning opportunities outside the school day. All right, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add New Category. It's going to go ahead and do that. So when I take a look at extracurricular, you can see it right here added to the top. It's got my description, and it's got that slug. And the slug is basically just the short name for it, so that way when it shows up in my URL or my website address, it's not just some gobbledygook. So I've got that, it's there. You can see I've already added a few more categories. You can stay here and add as many categories as you like. However, just a word of caution, you want to set up categories that are going to have a very long tail, that are going to provide some very clear delineation and themes to your writing. So in this case, since I'm writing for my school, I have a certain set of terms that pop up quite often in a school setting: art, assessment, elementary, language arts, physical education, social studies, secondary. Okay, you can go crazy adding as many categories as you'd like. However, I like to keep mine relatively minimal and focused on what I'm going to be writing about on that particular blog. So now that I've got this, I'm going to actually go to one of my posts. So here's a post that I wrote called The Blogging Rules, and I actually found this really cool list of blogging rules that a few teachers were doing, and I wanted to spruce it up a little bit and share with other teachers. So it's very brief, talking about Common Core standards, talking about, things that we should be considerate of when we're blogging, and then talking about how they're being used, blogs, in third grade. So once I've got this post done, I could go ahead and click post or update or publish without any categories at all. That's fine. But if I want to make this a little more user friendly in the future for curating purposes, I can come right down here to categories. See this? These are all the categories that I have on my blog that I created using that category menu, and all I have to do is just check the ones that I feel it should belong to. So secondary, language arts, elementary. As you can see, it can belong in more than one category, and that is just fine. If you just want to put blog posts in one particular category, that's fine too. It's up to you. If you're writing blog posts and you're realizing, boy, I don't have a category for where these blog posts should be going, you can add a new category directly right here if you don't want to go back to the category menu. However, again, I would strongly advise that when you are setting up your categories, do this at the beginning of your blog and think about the big categories that you think you might need. So that way, as you start blogging, you've got all of these nice, neat folders already to dump everything into, and you can go back 6 months, 12 months, 18 months after you've started blogging and go back and take a look by clicking on those categories to see how your writing has progressed. So that's it. That's categories. The only other thing you might want to do is how can you offer other people the opportunity to see these categories? And you can actually do that by going to the appearance menu. So you can see right here under the appearance, I've got a few choices: themes, customize, widgets. I want to go to widgets. And WordPress has a built-in category widget. Okay? In this case, it's right here under available widgets. And all I have to do is drag this over to the main sidebar. I've already done that here. I'll go ahead and I'll remove it and show you how that works. I'm going to delete this. All I have to do is take this categories, move it over here, and drop it in my main sidebar. Now, I could give it a different name. Otherwise, it'll just appear as categories as default. In this case, I'm going to also click as display as dropdown because I want people to have a nice dropdown list, especially if I have a lot of categories. Otherwise, it's going to be a really long list. And then I'll click save. Now that I've done that, when I go back to my main page and I go to the home page for my blog, you can see I've got my category menu right here, and I've got all of those categories right there. Notice it's not going to show empty categories. Empty categories would be those categories that I showed you that don't have any posts attached to them yet. So if I click on science, I've got all my posts for science, but I'm not going to see any posts that I'm not ready to share with the world yet, that haven't been published. So that's how I use categories.